The 2014 fantasy football is finally here, and after months of fantasy projections and player rankings, we finally get to talk some football. Now, let's start with my first regular season football ready of the year and my first week 1 start 'em sit 'em. I changed my Twitter account, so now follow me on Twitter at The Sport Updates. The week 1 quarterback starts. Nick Foles has a very good matchup against Jacksonville. He's going to put up a lot of yards and points for your team, and Jacksonville gave up the 6th most fantasy points to quarterbacks last year, so I like him a lot this week. Jay Cutler against Buffalo is another good matchup. Buffalo's defense is injured right now, and I think it's in Chicago, so I think it's a very good time for Jay Cutler to get the season set off right. He's projected 22 points this week on Yahoo.com, and I think that's what he's going to get. He should have a very solid week for your team. Carson Palmer against San Diego is a very good matchup. It's going to be a shootout on Monday Night Football. I can't wait. And San Diego gave up the 10th most points last year to quarterbacks, and I like this matchup. And if you're in a deeper league or a 2-quarterback league, Ryan Tannehill against the Patriots is a sneaky good start. The Patriots will probably be winning early, so Tannehill will have to throw the ball. And I think he could put up 2 touchdowns and 300 yards, so you should start him in deeper leagues. Here are the guys you should try not to start in your leagues. Now, these guys won't necessarily kill your team this week, but there are better options out there. Robert Griffin III against Houston. Houston has a very good defense and it improved a lot from last year. And RG3 just did not look good in the preseason, and his knee is still injured. Too many red flags are going off, and I wouldn't trust him this week. Tony Romo has a decent matchup against San Francisco, but again, it's on the road, and San Francisco is a good defense, so you never know. Tony Romo could put up a big game, but he is playing a good defense. Andy Dalton versus Baltimore. Andy Dalton in his career does not have success against Baltimore, and it's on the road in Baltimore. I don't think he's going to have a good game. And Alex Smith against Tennessee. Tennessee last year had a sneaky good defense. They gave up the 3rd fewest fantasy points to quarterbacks, and besides, the Chiefs won't be throwing the ball much anyways. They'll be handed off to Jamal Charles. So I wouldn't start Alex Smith this week on your team. Let's start to the running back starts for week 1. Arian Foster, who had injured plague season last year, is a good start. Washington gave up the 2nd most points last year to running backs, and they're going to come out running the ball with Foster. Frank Gore versus Dallas. Dallas gave up the most running back fantasy points last year. Like, they can't stop the run. And the scary part is, the defense got worse from last year. They lost DeMarcus Ware and other people too, so Frank Gore will light it up. Jacques Bell has a good game against the Giants. 12th most fantasy points is what the Giants give up. The Bears have a very bad run defense. They tried to fix it, but it's still not great. Fred Jackson will get the red zone touches. I also like CJ Spiller on Buffalo this week too, but Jackson will get the red zone touches, so I like him better. And Mark Ingram is a sneakier pick, more of a sleeper this week against Atlanta. Atlanta and New Orleans is going to be a shootout, and Ingram will get in the end zone, so I think he was a good start for you this week. I don't really like these guys' matchups this week, and the first one is Doug Martin versus Carolina. Carolina's run defense is really good, and Doug Martin is just too inconsistent for my liking. Arizona has a very good run defense, so Ryan Matthews is going to have a tough time. And besides, Philip Rivers will be throwing the ball a lot, so I wouldn't start Ryan Matthews this week, but I think he's going to have a good year this year. Bishop Sankey, there's too many red flags with him too. He's not the starter. Sean Green will get more touches than Sankey, and it's a bad matchup against Kansas City. Maurice Jones-Drew also has a bad matchup against New York Jets, and plus, Darren McFadden is going to clog up his carries, so I'm not sure who to trust in the Oakland backfield right now. And Steven Jackson, he could end up with a pretty good year. He'll get the red zone touches against New Orleans, but he didn't take a single preseason snap, not a single one. So he's going to be rusty, bad, and I just don't see him having a good game, so I'd sit him this week. Here are my start picks for the wide receivers. I love Michael Floyd this week. Carson Palmer is going to have a big game against San Diego, and Michael Floyd is going to be a big part of it. I think Michael Floyd will have a better game than Fitzgerald, and I just like him a lot this year. Emmanuel Sanders is going to have to step up for the Broncos. The Broncos no longer have Wes Welker. He's suspended and has a concussion. They no longer have Eric Decker. Emmanuel Sanders will get targets, and he will catch a ton of balls. I like him a ton this year, and this week, He has a great matchup against the Colts. They'll be throwing the ball a lot. Cecil Shorts has a good matchup against the Eagles. They gave up the most fantasy points to wide receivers last year. Reggie Wayne, also in that shootout, will get a lot of touches. Jeremy Maclin, I like a lot because Jacksonville's defense isn't good, and the Eagles have a high-flying offense. You should get him in your lineup. And Brandon Cooks. I'm excited to see how they use Brandon Cooks, and I think he's going to have a big game because Atlanta won't know how to stop him. He's brand new into the system. He's extremely fast. He's just too hard to cover. I think he's going to have a big game, his first game. These wide receivers I don't like as much. Deshaun Jackson versus Houston, not a great matchup. Again, RG3 is injured, and they're not going to be throwing the ball that much. And if they do, it's going to be to Pierre Garçon. Torrey Smith has bad stats against the Bengals, and the Bengals defense is really good, so I wouldn't trust him. Mike Wallace against the Patriots, I also don't like. He's being shattered by Darrelle Revis, and that's never good. Sammy Watkins, I just don't trust this week against the Bears. His quarterbacks aren't good, and the Bears have Charles Tillman covering him. Terrence Williams is a bit banged up right now. He has a bruised back and ribs, and he's playing a tough San Francisco defense. Not the best matchup for him. Here are the sleeper defenses you can pick up. The Rams are playing Minnesota, and Minnesota is a good Minnesota is a good team that you want to face if you have the defense. So the Rams will have a good game against the Vikings defense. The Lions defense was also going to be good against the Giants. The Giants will throw a ton of picks, and they'll turn the ball over a lot in that offense because Eli Manning's just bad, to put it simply. And the Eagles defense against Jacksonville, that's if you're desperate, but Jacksonville won't put up that many points, so I like that matchup too. And again, these are all undervalued picks for week 1, and if you have a good defense, then ride them the way through, but if you mix and match, these are the guys you want, or the defenses you want. And defenses to be wary about, and you might want to pick up either the Rams or Lions defense, the Cardinals against San Diego, the Niners against Dallas, and the Broncos against the Colts. I don't like any of those matchups. These offenses are too good. Thanks again for watching, and again, follow me on Twitter at VSportsUpdates.